Good morning, everybody. How are you all doing today? So, I've been streaming a fair amount lately, and it's been a lot of fun, so I said, let's do another stream. Today, it's easier than recording content. Although I actually do have a video I'll be putting up, maybe tomorrow. I did a review of Witch Hunter Robin. So, it was not the show that I remembered it being. We'll say that much, but there will be a review of Witch Hunter Robin coming out soon. Okay, let's see here. Let's just pull this. So this week there was just a lot of shit. There was a lot of just insane shit that went down this week. So we're just gonna kind of go through it all. Now, there was a really funny quote that someone managed to dig up. From back in the day, and by back in the day I mean like a couple months back. So I don't know if anyone remembers, but Russia spent a lot of time destroying Ukraine's infrastructure. Specifically, let's see here. Verse. I'm trying to find it, the quote. Because a lot of people called it a war crime when Russia was cutting off Ukraine's electricity supply. Russian electricity war crime. Just trying to find it. Let's see. Okay, so we have this article from the CBC, the BBC. We all know what BBC stands for. Is attacking Ukraine's power grid a war crime? Russia's frequent and widespread attacks on Ukraine's power infrastructure have plunged millions of people into darkness, depriving them of heat and water just as winter arrives and temperatures drop below zero. So, it is... They go through it, but yeah, it's basically a war crime. I don't know, like, who would do something like this. Like, literally 8 months after this, where someone would cut off an entire people's electricity, power, and food. And in order to do that, I'm trying to find, because, like, the head of the EU called it a war crime, too. Let's see here. UN News. So this is from the United Nations. Russia's energy attacks torturing Ukraine could be crimes against humanity. Russia's attack against Ukraine's energy grid left millions without power. I guess they're saying it because it's winter. They also called that dam that got blown up a war crime as well. So it's rough, guys. It's rough. Right, this was last year. I think they said it literally like this year. People were talking about it. Let me see if I can find one from 2023. We have one from August. Are Russia's attacks on Ukraine's power grid a war crime? So it's we have that. I'm just trying to find Ursula von der Crazy put out something. Russia war crime. She might have taken it down. That seems, yeah, here we go. Ursula von der Crazy. Let's see here. Russia's attacks against civilian infrastructure, especially electricity, are war crimes. Cutting off men, women, and children of water, electricity, and heating with winter coming. These are acts of pure terror, and we have to call it as such. That's rough, guys. It's rough. It's Jover. These were anti-Semitic comments. I also saw some people who were like accusing Israel of collective punishment for the crimes of a few people, and I think that the Jewish people would never. The Jewish people. The problem is the Jewish people have no experience with collective punishment and the entirety of a community or ethnic group being persecuted because of the actions of a small portion of the ethnic group. I don't think that they just don't have that experience. They don't have that sense of empathy. If that was something that they had experienced in the past, this whole thing would be a massive state of hypocrisy when the entire existence of Israel is perhaps based on something like that. But so the other thing we're seeing is and for the record, so I just want to take a side note because people often don't really seem to get my perspective on these. When I do these and I talk about it, it's not necessarily my opinion, how I feel about it. I'm trying to judge people by their own standards. There's a difference between judging people by my standards and judging people by their own standards. And you judge other people by their own standards to point out that they're inconsistent or hypocritical or that they don't actually really believe in their views. It's just kind of a grift or a scam or something like that. So, there's that. So there's a plan now. Let me see here. I think they're gonna, yeah, this was one. Netanyahu told 1.1 million Palestinians they had 24 hours to evacuate. What is this if not ethnic cleansing? Well, it wasn't ethnic cleansing apparently when uh, Nagorno Karabakh. Well, no, like later Gator, I just said I'm not saying this myself. I'm saying the entire like existence of Israel is predicated on the idea that collective punishment is bad. It's predicated on the idea that if you're a minority who faces discrimination, you automatically get your own country. That is what Israel is literally based upon. Um, and it's funny that they've forced these that the first thing they did, it's kind of like with Liberia. I don't know if anyone knows what happened with Liberia. So there was a policy to try to repatriate blacks to Africa, um, and they founded the nation of Liberia. So the first thing the Afro Americans did when they reached Africa was they enslaved the local Africans, and they implemented a racial caste system where the Afro Americans were on top and the Native Africans were slaves, and this persisted for over 100 years. Likewise, the first things the Israelis did was put the Palestinians into ghettos. So the Israeli government demand that more than 1 million Palestinians leave their homes in northern Gaza and flee south. Has horrific echoes of the past. You think? Researching the history of Gaza's 2.3 million refugees. So I don't know how 1.1 million people is supposed to evacuate in in 48 hours. In 24. Like, how is that even physically possible? Um, I would imagine it's way more than that. I imagine it's way more than that have been killed. So I don't really know what Israel's goal is here. Is this going to be the final solution to the Palestinian question? Are they just finally going to kick them all out of the country? Are they going to starve them to death, dehydrate them to death, just prevent them from getting any food and electricity until they leave? I don't know. Is this going to be the big one? Are they going to use this as the pretense? So it's a good question. It's a good question. So is this the final solution to the question, the Palestinian question? It might be. I wonder though if they're going to take this opportunity to also just expel them from the West Bank. Like we're going this far, we might as well just go ahead with that. Um, so well, I mean, so this was another funny one. Um, so Israel just decided to attack Syria just because they could. I don't think there's a peace treaty, but they just decided to attack Syria. I like how they just do this. It is kind of base, but it's also really funny. Um, Expel them to the sea, the ocean. Uh, they're going to expel them to the ocean or force them into Egypt. I don't think they really care at this point in time. So Israel just attacked Syria. It's not escalating the conflict, as the U.S. would say. This is perfectly okay. Remember when I get it that Trump just had to do it politically, but remember when Trump just randomly fired missiles at a couple Syrian army bases and blew them up? Um, that just seems to be the thing. You can just attack a sovereign country whenever you want. That's not against international law. Um, if we're going to pretend that international law is a thing, um, which it kind of isn't. Did not release any immediate statement on the attacks. So, yeah, for years carried out attacks in Syria, just firing missiles at it. And it's just normal. Let's see here. Egypt has a blockade on Gaza too, and doesn't like Hamas. Well, I didn't say that Egypt would willingly take them. I just said they're going to drive them out and into the desert. Who knows? Maybe they'll just die and starve in the desert. Maybe they'll wander around in the desert for like 40 years, and then they'll like come back and they will play like I don't know what kind of instrument Arabs play. They'll sing, and then the walls of the West Bank will crumble down. So that was the plan. Uh, how you can go, you can just attack it. So I wanted to talk about. There's actually something I wanted to talk about. So there's a guy on YouTube I like to watch because he does good coverage of the Russo-Ukraine war, particularly from a what is it again? A logistical industrial capacity standpoint. I don't know if anyone has watched the new Atlas on YouTube by Brian Berletic. Uh, it is, it's generally speaking pretty good. Uh, but he is, I think, a good example of a third worldist, wherein a lot of I think right wing people probably like him because he's anti-American, but like that's kind of the weird thing about this conflict is you have a lot of people who are on the far left and who are globalists, who are anti-America and who are pro-Russia, and it's just really really weird. So the idea that like he was putting out is that Hamas was created by the United States. Um, it was created by the United States. I like his channel because it gives me links to um, articles. I mainly watch that because he mainly uses Western articles, and it gives me links to them that I can read to myself. Defense Politics Asia and History Legends are both good. Yep, I watch both Defense Politics Asia. I find his accent kind of annoying. But History Legends is really good. So military summary is not bad either. What was I looking at again? Um, but yeah, so the narrative that like I see the Third World has come out with is that Hamas was created by Israel and America to be a fake opposition, like to be a controlled fake opposition group to try to undermine the PLO, and that the Muslim Brotherhood was also created by the United States and Great Britain as like to try to undermine communism. And like part of the Third Worldist perspective is that um, part of the Third Worldist perspective